positions in the telecoms industry, where he served first as Chief Customer Care Executive in Econet Wireless, later as Regional General Manager in Celtel, now Airtel, and then a very transformative period in MTN Communications as the Chief Customer Relationship Executive. He holds a double major BA degree in English language and biblical studies. I didn't realize that. From the Covenant University, USA. He's also a proud alumnus of the London Business School, Nottingham University, Lagos Business School, and the WITS Business School Executive Management Development Program. I can go on and on, but not to take our time. Please welcome with me. Sorry, he is now presently one of the candidates for governorship of Lagos State. Okay, so he's one of the people that will be toeing for the Lagos State gubernatorial elections. He's a family man, happily devoted to his wife and 4 beautiful children, and is a lover of the game of chess, which he plays from time to time. Please welcome with me Akin Braithwaite. Akin, you are most welcome, and thank you for coming on the program. Thank you for also agreeing for us to reschedule the initial program that we had at that time, a couple of weeks ago, just to do some remembrances here and there. Okay, so reforming the local government administration, setting the agenda to make Nigeria great. Maybe my first conversation with you is to ask why you got into politics in the first place. Thank you. Please unmute yourself. You have to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Oh, great, great. Thank you so much, Pastor Ituah, for having me. And I'd like to say hi to everyone out there, whatever time zone you're in. It's really, really great to be with you. And I really share Pastor Ituah's commiserations with the people who are in the affected, flooded areas. You know, our heart really goes out to all of them. And I hope that the fact that we're connecting with them in our thoughts will add some level of, I guess, some level of happier feelings. They say tough times don't last, only tough people do. Right, Pastor, you asked the question, why did I get into politics? Well, shortly after the disastrous events of 2020 October, it then dawned on me that, you know what, whatever happens in society is driven by those who are controlling society. And I started giving some kind of thought towards where we're coming from. And, you know, most of us have been brought up to believe that we just need to run our private lives, do whatever we need to do, and let others run the affairs of governance. But it was, for me, a very seminal point when what happened there in Lekki. I happen to live in the Lekki axis. And the fact that it really touched us here to the extent that my daughters, my wife, were very traumatized by it all. So you could say that it brought it into stark reality that, hey, this is a potential existential threat. Just up the road from us, the ShopRite and some other shops were damaged and places were torched. And, you know, hey, even the estates roundabout, there was a fear that the rioters were going to breach the estates. And I started to think back to the Bolshevik Revolution, you know, the French Revolution. And all of these revolutions, you know, they all start by the people kind of feeling a sense of disenfranchisement, a sense of disillusionment, hopelessness, sense of removal from everybody else, you know, detachment, and they just go on the rampage. And I started to feel at that point that what if we're entering into that phase where we might be facing a terrible uprising? Well, fortunately, as God would have it, things calmed down. And but after it did, I just realized that one couldn't keep on just critiquing things on WhatsApp. So I started calling around to a few friends and said, look, listen, we have got to get involved now. If we leave governance in the hands of others, in the hands of our proxies, they're running it the way that they think should be run. And there's a lot that is to be desired. It's high time that those of us who have some level of competence and have achieved certain things in our professional lives get into the system and bring about what we can to help the system to move forward, in the best way, possible. And this really was the determining factor that led me to think, okay, you know what? Get in there, try and do whatever you can and move on. You need to be a part of those that are going to rescue Nigeria. You need to show the young people that there's a better way. There's an alternative way to how things can be handled. We need care, we need caring, we need empathy, a government that can really speak the language of the people, listen to the people, and really sort of co-create and really help this nation to move forward. So that's, in a nutshell, that's the reason why.
Okay, so how long has this your political adventure been, and what has been your experience thus far in the politics of Nigeria? Can you share with us?
Oh, yeah, definitely. The journey started October 2021. So it's pretty much about just 12 months gone. And in that period, I can tell you that I've had several rude awakenings. I have been in the trenches, and there have been times when I felt, was this a wise decision? Shouldn't I really just go stay in my quiet, private sector world and just leave this to the guys who know how to run things, the rabble-rousers and what have you. So there have been times, even in that short period of the 12 months, when I rather felt that, no, this is not for me. This is not for people like me, I would also add that, sadly, I have discovered that our political system is broken. In any which way you want to describe it, it is broken, it's messed up. There are a lot of diabolical folks. It's almost like a mafia. The political parties really, really have been messed up by all of this. It's a sick situation, if I must add. And that's been, the experience has not been salutary. It's kind of money driven. Everybody wants to grab money here. Nobody wants to do anything without money. So there's also a lot of, myth, around, yes, what money can do. So there's this whole thing. There's a lot of propaganda to scare people away, to scare the thinking class away. And then, some of my friends, members of my family have said, what on earth, are you crazy? This isn't really the kind of thing you should be involved in, right now. Leave that to somebody else. Oh, these guys are too entrenched. Oh, Lagos, it's almost as if there's an ownership and you don't have any right to have a say. So it's not been encouraging, but at the same time, I'm somebody who I would describe myself as a contrarian. I'm not someone who just, follows the crowd in that sense. And I can take on, I believe that it's important to take tough things on. And in all the roles that I played in private sector, one has had to face very, very tough issues, climb up the hill, climb the mountain, and literally, just take it on and head on. So that's really where I'm coming from. And I could say I've had my baptism. I've had the baptism of fire, as it were. I think I've gone through, like they say, what they don't teach you in Harvard, you learn it on the street. So I've learned in this political journey that, yeah, and there's some good people, few and far between, but I have met some very, very good people along the way. So, hey, we're ready to slay the dragons. Like I said to someone, there's a friend of mine, we joked together. He's also involved in this journey. And I say, look, we're the samurai. We're the new tribe, the new age politicians. And, they better know that, hey, there's some new sheriffs in town.
Yeah, good. But you know that some of the people that you are competing against, running against, they've been at this business for 30 years, 20 years, 25 years. They've been there, back, they've gotten the t-shirts, won the t-shirts, gotten the stripes and everything. They've won, they've lost many, many battles in many, many ways. So what's the new sheriff in town going to do differently? And how are you going to get win the elections in Lagos State?
Okay, so the new sheriff definitely has to learn some things from these guys. One of the most important lessons, I think, is resilience. Just as you described it, these guys have had to have a high level of resilience. Otherwise, they wouldn't still be in the game. So there must be something about, hey, you don't win or whatever the issue is, you just have to get slugged in and you just give it whatever you got. If you get it in the solar plexus, it takes the wind out of you. You sort of like shake yourself up, and then you get stuck in again. It's important to note that one, we are not living in a monarchical system. This is a republic. It's a democracy. So nobody owns the land, as it were. We may have an advantage. And if I can use a football example, my son is an ardent fan of Arsenal. And I think in the last season, they were beaten black and blue. But, he still wore the t-shirt, then he still wears the t-shirt. When he was younger, he had a bed sheet that was Arsenal. So I think I've learned so I'm not really a football buff. I like to watch a good game, but I'm not necessarily a follower of clubs. But one thing that I've noticed about people who are football fans, some guys are Arsenal for life, others are Chelsea for life, others are Manchester for life, whatever the names of the other clubs are. So to a large extent, you don't because you've been beaten in one season. Sort of like, say, you give up and you fold up and then you roll up in a corner. You have to keep coming at it. So I think the one big lesson, from these chats is that you have to have resilience. The second thing I think is really, they have an ideology that they are pushing. And I heard you in a couple of your public statements, you use the term gatekeepers. So some people have that ideology that they are the gatekeepers, it belongs to them. But we have to sort of say, hey, look, listen, this thing belongs to all of us. I'm also writing children's books. I've written one called Ajekwa. The Data Tortoise book is Shell. And it really talks and speaks to this idea of all of us. Somebody, a creature says, hey, this is what everybody should own. And he says, hey, guess what? My name is all of us. And he eats what belongs to everybody. So that's what these political juggernauts have been doing. So, guess what, folks? Don't worry, we'll look after it. It belongs to all of us. But they're the ones who seem to be kind of eating the crab and the shaki and the momo and everything else. And we are left, scraping at the edges. So we've come to a point where we need to recognize, and I also believe that we are in the age of enlightenment. Nigeria's own age of enlightenment. And you know what happened in Europe when they got to their age of enlightenment? Wonderful things started to happen. That was when you now had the Industrial Revolution and all these things, the age of reason. So today we ask the question, why? So Nigerians are at that age, political age of reason, where we say, why should I vote for that person? So the strategy really, from my standpoint, is quite keeping it simple. One is to let people understand that, look, the reason you vote, you don't vote because you already predetermined that this party is going to win, and therefore that's where you cast your vote. No, that's a vote that is cast without a cause. Now, if you cast a vote for someone that you know isn't going to do what you expect should be done, that is an expensive, wasted vote. That's not the way to vote, and we have to get to a point where we're becoming politically mature. So you don't vote a causeless vote. Your vote has to have a cause. So the issue for me is the strategy is let's let people understand that there's a cause that they need to fight for. So when you're voting, you're giving your mandate for that cause. Now, irrespective of the fact that, oh yes, that you then got the governance. No, your cause continues until you get there. And I like to refer to this guy, Nigel Farage, who was a Eurosceptic. And he decided within himself that Britain had to get out of Europe. So he set up a party. It was called the UK, United Kingdom Independent Party. And he ran that party for about 3 years and went on, set up another party. Coincidentally, the party is called Brexit Party. And he pushed and pushed and pushed. And he was a fringe party. He had that agenda, he had a cause, and he got others believing in the cause. So it's the same way. Today, Britain, rightly or wrongly, thanks to Nigel Farage and people like him, has pulled out of Europe. So if we get causes and we believe in our cause, and we take that to the people, and the thinking classes, I use the term, we need to connect with the thinking classes. And the thinking classes, will find them in all segments of our society, right? From the top all the way down to the bottom, including the masses. There are people who think and are asking questions today. So we have
Can you hear him? I think he's frozen.
Yeah, I think he's frozen.
I think he's frozen. We'll try and call him up now.
Okay, so while we are waiting for him to get back, we'll show the video of the flood disaster, and just to bring it close home to everyone. And then hopefully by that time we've reconnected. Please always try and retweet or invite people to this forum. The link is always the same. Some people say they've not been getting the link, but please try and invite many people to the forum. Thank you. Please watch. These are people's houses submerged completely. People moving in canoes. I'm sure you saw Goodluck Jonathan too. It's called the worst flooding in a decade. Almost to the rooftop of some houses. Houses damaged, flora and fauna coming inside. Even some places there were crocodiles.
A humanitarian challenge is emerging in Nigeria as the country experiences its worst floods in a decade. 33 out of Nigeria's 36 states are affected by the rising waters. Entire communities have been submerged, losing their houses, their fields, and their livelihoods. So far, more than 600 people have died, and at least 1.4 million people have been forced from their submerged homes. The country experiences seasonal flooding along these two main rivers every year, but on a far smaller scale. It's a different story this time. Take a look at this section of the Niger River as pictured in June this year, and compare with what it looked like earlier this month when the river burst its banks. Some communities have witnessed water levels of up to 13 meters. We'll discuss why the situation is so devastating after this report by DW's Flourish Chukura.
This is what the rainy season usually looks like in Anambra State in southeastern Nigeria. And this is what the same community looks like now. Swollen rivers have inundated numerous towns and villages across Nigeria, causing 1.4 million people to flee their homes for camps set up on higher ground.
We are suffering, but suffering is better than stealing. That's why we are here in this condition. The clothes that I'm wearing are the only ones I have left. The flood carried away all our belongings.
I have an acre of farmland, and I bought a bag of manure for $40. I planted rice. 2 days later, the floods washed everything away.
All our schools have been destroyed by water, so our plea is anyone that can help us, should help us, please.
But help is slow in arriving. Many roads and bridges are washed out. Traffic chokes those routes that are still passable, delaying the delivery of fuel and food supplies around the country.
We have just returned yesterday from delivering goods in the capital Abuja, and we are back here and we haven't even gone an inch.
Local NGOs are scrambling to help where they can.
The situation is heart-wrenching. We have families where a single mother with 10 or 11 children has lost everything. The biggest challenge currently,
waiting for assistance promised by the government to arrive.
So if the government has been doing anything, they haven't done anything yet. They have not seen any presence of the government.
With key infrastructure swallowed by water, many of the flooded communities are without power and people's generators have been destroyed. Critical infrastructures such as schools, healthcare centers, police stations, and banks can't operate. And with the number of farmlands that have been destroyed, there are concerns about food scarcity in the coming months. Nigeria's government blames most of the flooding on unseasonally heavy rain, but other factors play a role. The Ladgo Dam in neighboring Cameroon opens its gates every year, releasing excess water that flows into Nigeria. But Nigeria has failed to build a dam to manage the overflow. The Nigerian government says that though they received early warning signs of the flood, they never foresaw this level of destruction. And southeastern Nigeria is at risk of flooding until the end of the rainy season in November.
I'm joined now by Adaku Echendu in Ottawa. She is an environmental researcher at Queen's University in Canada. Welcome to DW News Africa, Adaku. Now, you've been researching the reasons for Nigeria's flooding. We know the main rivers in the country flood annually. Why is the situation different this time?
Yeah, the situation is different this time because of the scale and magnitude. So while Nigeria is prone to annual flooding, this year we've had very bad flooding. And the time we experienced this kind of flooding last was in 2012, and we have similar factors. So in 2012, there was release of dams, various dams, some from Cameroon. So that's the same this year. So even though this morning, the official reports we have from the National Minister of Water Resources tells us that the flooding we are experiencing is not due to it's not related to any dam release, but due to rainfall. So we'll have higher rainfall this year.
So higher rainfall means the dams get full and then they get released. I mean, we've had a lot of rainfall before. Is it exceptional this year?
So apparently we've had very, very higher than normal rainfalls, and this is one of the impacts of climate change as experienced over the globe. But it's very, very important to differentiate the dynamics of Nigeria's flooding from the global climate phenomena. So climate change is part of it, but it's just a very tiny piece of the puzzle in the flooding problem in Nigeria. So the main reason for this flooding we're currently experiencing is the lack of infrastructure.
Thank you very much. I think we've had enough of that. Just to give people who are outside Nigeria of what's going on in Nigeria. I think Mr. Akin Braithwaite is ready to be back online now. So if he could just open up his camera, unmute himself, and then we can continue with our conversation. Akin, are you ready for us? Yeah, you froze. You were saying before we were interrupted.
Yes. I think we were talking about the
Don't tell me that you are frozen again.
He may have to turn off his camera so that he has enough bandwidth.
Okay. Olu, please call him to turn off his camera.
Most, if not everybody, on this call in this session. Hello, can you see me? Can you hear me?
Can you turn off your camera so that you have enough bandwidth? Your face is frozen.
Okay. I'm using another device. Can you hear me?
We can hear you very well.
Okay, great. So basically, I believe that most, if not all of us on this call are really, we're here because the topic says, we want to make Nigeria great. We want to set the agenda. And that's precisely what democracy helps us to do. Democracy really, if you look at, we were talking about football earlier. Now, the whole idea of the football team is that the football team plays in a game, okay? And even if they lose, they still have to play the game. So ultimately, it's about staying in the game, playing to win. And despite what happens along the way, you keep the agenda. You have the strategy, and you keep to that strategy, and you make sure that you do whatever needs to be done to achieve the objectives. I believe that all of us really want to see Nigeria realize its potential, but we've done it the way we've done it so far, and it hasn't worked. So we need to change. In a football game, if your scorer isn't scoring, if your number 9 or number 10 isn't doing what he needs to do, then you've got to bench him, and then you let somebody else come in and do the needful. It's no hard feelings. It's not as if you hate the guy or whatever. Everybody understands that, look, in this game, you need to change players sometimes so things can move along. In business, in the private sector, there's such a thing as monopoly. And we try to ensure that you don't have monopoly, because where you have monopoly, you then have a monopoly that stops new ideas from coming in. So we do everything that we can to ensure that there is competition. And it's the same goes for politics. You can't have a situation where you just have a one-party system and it's just constant and it's just there. with the exception of perhaps like a China, okay? But in our present world, it's the best is to always allow for creativity, innovation, and all of those things to happen. So in democracy, you do need to have change. So it's important that we do everything that we can to bring about this change. I happen to also believe that really and truly, it's a distraction to a large extent to just keep focused on what happens at the national level. Now, I'm not sure that every one of us is like Pastor Ituah, who maybe has access to Aso Rock. The vast majority of us have probably never been into Aso Rock, probably never even got as far as the gate of Aso Rock. So you can't go and have tea with the president. So regardless of who the president is, he's so far removed from us, from our reality. The same perhaps may even be said for your state level. I'm not too sure there are many of us who have been allowed to drink Gari and Ekpa at the governor's lodge. But what matters and what is very, very important is the local government level. That's why the local government was created. And the Constitution of Nigeria, effective as it is, guarantees that there shall be local government. And local government has roles that it has to play. Now, your local government chairman, your councillor, is somebody who's just next door to you. But the problem with Nigeria is that we have allowed them to sell us the narrative that, nothing's meant to happen at local government level, that the governor, the state controls. But that's not what the Constitution says. In order for us to be true, we have to work at the execution layer, which is at the local government layer. Everybody accepts it's a conventional, generally accepted thing that most employment is provided to SMEs. And that's at the local level. If we want to see our country develop, we've got to develop at the local level. This is exactly how China moved 800 million people out of poverty. And that's how we are going to be able to achieve the same. We need to reinvent, re-energize, reform our local government. And it is up to all of us to get involved with local governance because the opportunities are there. The current state of play, unfortunately in Nigeria, is that local government isn't allowed the autonomy that the Constitution guarantees it. So it depends on us, the people, the citizens. If we want the local government to have the autonomy, it will have the autonomy because we'll push for it. But because most of us aren't really that interested in it anyway, and I'll be one of the first to admit, I don't even know the name of my local government chairman. I'm ashamed to admit that. And I don't even know the identity of my ward councillor. I hope most of us are not like that, at least most of us that live in Nigeria. We have to get to know the people that are our representatives at the local level. Then we've got to make them face their responsibilities. Fortunately, as of July 2022, the federal government, through an executive order, now sends money directly to the local government purse. Each local government has a budget, an annual budget. So they are, like I saw one the other day for Ikorodu West, LCDA. And I think it was like 1.35 billion. And it was a balanced budget. Now, what they spent it on exactly, I don't know. But it's up to us, the people. We need to find out exactly where that money is being spent. And is it going on the projects and things that it needs to? Hello?
Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. So we need to find out, and we need to make sure that we are the ones that are monitoring whatever is going on in our local government area, because they are getting the money. Also, that's money. They're also getting money. They're getting money in different ways. They're getting money from FAC, federal government allocation, their share of it. They're getting money from the internally generated revenues. Okay. So then they're also getting money from loans that they are kind of getting from private sector. So money is coming into the local government, okay? Oh, somebody just said that's my local government. Well, yeah, you better tell us who your local government chairman is and what they've done with them. In fact, I was surprised once when somebody sent me something on WhatsApp where a particular local government and the councillors and the chairman, they were going to go for a retreat to discuss local government development issues. And guess where the retreat was being held? None other than in wonderful Dubai. And I thought to myself, you know, isn't that kind of amazing? That these guys, so for me, I think it's important that we now get to a point where we start holding our local governors accountable. If we truly want to see Nigeria really, really become a great nation. So much that the local government is responsible for: primary healthcare, health services, schools, primary education, adult education, vocational training. Now, the Chinese, in bringing their people out of poverty, they executed at these levels: primary care, vocational training, bringing about small factories, cottage industries. These are the things that we're going to need to kickstart to really start to boost our economy and move our country forward. And given the opportunity to be governor, definitely our government will unleash the local government autonomy. We will ensure that local government really starts to be local to the people and breathe for the people. These roads that run outside your houses, your streets, the broken roads, it's the responsibility of your local government. It's in the budget. We need to make them do what they're responsible for. The street trading that's going on, that's because markets have not been provided. Local government is meant to provide for people to be able to sell. A very veritable source of income for local government is advertising, but the state has captured that particular aspect. So we need to put people in place who are also going to be adamant about ensuring that of the local government are secured, maintained, and that the local government is able to get the money that it needs for developmental reasons. Local government is meant to be part of the development of the particular state in which it is. Let me rest at this point and take your comment.
Okay, so what are we going to do to strengthen the local government? What do you think needs to be done? You mentioned something just now that the advert revenue that should belong to the local government, the state has appropriated it. The second thing, of course, is that the elections that are held at the local government is usually at the behest of the governor, who handles it and almost imposes his people in place and things like that. So what do you think needs to be done to strengthen the local governments and to make it more relevant? They to me, seem to have been completely emasculated, and they're in existence only as a matter of what you may call law or such. I don't see any effectiveness in this local government. A few, to be honest. Ituah here, where I live, and work. My local government chairman, young guy, has been doing quite well. First of all, he's reachable on the phone. Secondly, so I'm a bit better than you. I know my local government chairman. At least I know one of them. Secondly, he's responsive. When you reach him, he responds. and you actually see him trying to do a few things and so on and so forth. So, what do we do? How do we strengthen these local governments?
Well, I think that, truth be told, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, all right. Truth be told, I don't think that we really are interested as a people in our local government, because you mentioned that you know your local government chairman. Is that correct?
Correct, yes, correct.
Okay, but see, I don't know mine. And I did a survey the other day, and I was asking people, there were 5 of us, and I asked, and only one person knew the name of their local government chairman. Nobody knew who their ward councillor was. So to a large extent, we the people are not really that interested in engaging with local government. We're so focused on who the president is. We're so focused on this nation, that nation, and so forth and so on. So the first thing we must do is accept that we have been complicit in allowing the local government to go comatose. So we have to know what our responsibilities as citizens are, and really, really get with the program. And that way, we begin to start getting involved in local government. Secondly, we have to go for local government positions. We have to get elected into local government. We should be councillors. We should be chairmen of local government. We should have a development agenda that we want to see. Local government is responsible for the health, your primary health, before you even get to maybe a specialist hospital and whatever. It revolves around where you live. And we need to do whatever we can to, you see, once the citizens start to insist on certain things, then those certain things will get done. We don't insist on things being done. So we get shortchanged, to a large extent. So it's up to us really to say, these are this and this and this. We have to have KPIs as a people, as a citizenry. So that's the other thing. We have to hold these guys to account. We should be able to have town hall meetings with our local government. We should insist. I've never been to a town hall meeting with my local government chair. And they think they don't have any need to get back to us and tell us, where things stand and how things stand. We need to demand for the budget. We need to ask how the budget was spent. I also understand that local government persons, chairmen, councillors, are not immune from, prosecution. So if we feel that there's something, whilst you hear about a governor, an ex-governor being invited to the EFCC, I've never really heard of an instance or too many instances where a local government chairman has had to go and give an account, to the EFCC or anything like that. So I think it's important that we find out what's the citizen's own role and responsibility in this kind of, where's the citizen's contract with his or her local government? What role have we played, as citizens in our local government? I think we've left the local government alone. We've left them lonely, and sadly so.
Yeah, is it we?
So there's we need to start doing to kick. Sorry, I beg your pardon?
I said, is it we that have left the local governments alone, or is it the legislation that has not allowed the local governments to be as empowered as they should be? Or is it the governors that has annihilated them and emasculated them?
Okay, so in society and in a democracy such as what we're in, there are roles and responsibilities for all sides. So as citizens, we have a responsibility to vote people into position, and then they're meant to now work on our behalf. But our job doesn't stop once we've done the vote, because, you know, that's why you have the check and balance. The citizens and the opposition parties are meant to be the check and balance. But when we turn away and we say, well, okay, we've elected them, let them carry on, then we are abdicating our roles and responsibilities. There should be town hall meetings. Now, if we have a town hall session, as we're doing, this is a town hall session, for example. Let's assume that you are the local government chairman in this town hall. We have expectations of you. So in this town hall meeting, we're going to ask you, well, Mr. Chairman, we were meant to build 2-3 primary schools. You've not built the primary schools. Mr. Chairman, you were meant to provide 2 more health centers. They're not provided, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, if you as our chairman now turns around and say, well, listen, now the governor seized the money, therefore I'm not able to do it. Well, then you will have us to answer to. That's what I call accountability, because if you then want us to accept that your ineptitude is something that we should allow to happen, then you have another thing coming, because you showed us a budget. In fact, you're not meant to push a budget without consultation with the people. So in that budget that you came up with, you put in there that there were going to be 3 schools, 2 new health centers, and so forth and so on. You didn't tell us that that was going to be subject to permission from the state chairman, which is not, governor, sorry, which is not acceptable to us in any case, because there's a separation of responsibilities and what have you. It's because we've allowed them, you know, to a large extent to tell us all this stuff. And we haven't really held their feet to the fire. If we start doing that as the citizenry, then we want to, because we can report you to the EFCC and say, well, we suspect that you have misappropriated the funds and you have a case to answer. Now, you tell the EFCC that the governor has taken the money, because that is not a tenable explanation. You have been set up as a local government. You have the powers to raise a budget, to raise income. There have been inflows that have been coming in from all of these things that you're allowed to do. You know, they're responsible for all the weddings, deaths, certificates, all the driver's licenses, all the levies that they charge in the shops. You see them going around sealing shops and restaurants, all the alcohol that's being sold. They're responsible for the inflows from all these things. So a lot of money is flowing in to these local governments. So they need to answer to us, where has the money gone? Presidency, you know, we're too busy saying, okay, yeah, state government, but what about our local government governor, if you like, if we can call him that? So we have a role to play, very, very serious one on that. And then remember, there's a power of recall. There's a power of recall and there's a power of vote. If we're not satisfied, then we recall you. You know, that's if we want to recall you before the next election is up. And bearing in mind, Lagos State, the next election is up in 2025, thereabouts. So this is a good time to start trying to hold the local government chairman to account, reminding them that there's an election coming, you know, to which they may not be beneficiaries going forward.
Yeah, talking about elections, you know, first of all, I'm going to ask you 2 questions and I'm going to open the floor for people to ask questions. I see 1 or 2 people want to ask questions or make comments. First of all, the first question is, who is now going to galvanize the move to make this local government chairman a lot more accountable? That's question number 1. Question number 2 is, elections, the next elections is 2025. Why does the local government have different election cycles to the what you may call gubernatorial, presidency, and blah, blah, blah? Why? Is it a law or is it practice? And then the other day in my local government in my hometown, I think local government is probably a little bit more effective in the rural areas. My cousin was running for local government chairman, and of course soliciting support here and there, blah, blah, blah. And then eventually I then asked him, when is the election? And then he said to me, governor, don't postpone them again, this and that, this and that. So it was as though the governor appropriates and reprobates and just decides. Is that what it is supposed to be, or why are we having these problems?
You know, I'm very, very embarrassed to say that I actually don't know the reason. And this goes to the heart of, we've not been paying attention. We haven't really, I for one have never really cared, because I've never really seen local government as being part and parcel of my life. But that is to our detriment, because the state governors, and isn't it a real hypocrisy? We've been shouting restructuring, restructuring, restructuring. So the governors will say that we want true federalism, and they want the federal government to, give the autonomy and whatever. Yet, when it comes to local governance, the governors do not want to allow the autonomy to exist at that level. So there is a very, very serious piece of hypocrisy there. Now, a lot of the elections and the changes come about either because, the governor has truncated the term of the existing local government, and then they have to call another, there's a series that has to happen. Sometimes court cases have brought certain things about, and then sometimes too, it's just that there's been such disruption in the process. But what we need to now identify is that we need to arm ourselves with the information as to when the next, wherever you are in the country, you need to know when your next local government election is, because it should be the most important election that affects you as a local individual. They say all politics is local. So I happen to have tried to find out about Lagos State. And I understand that it used to also be that the elections used to be 2 years, every 2 years. And then it was changed to 4 years. And I think that it also depends on the state. I'll have to verify that. But I think each state also calls theirs differently. So we have a situation where the local government election, Lagos State, is 2025. Now, in some states, the state governor dissolves the whole of the local government council. But the brave local government chairmen and councillors have gone to court and have won in court. A case in point is Oyo State, because they are elected by the people, and the people are the only ones that can remove them. Okay, so we the people have the power, and we're the only ones that are charged with that responsibility and power and authority to remove the local government personnel. But the state governors have tried to, seize that power and control. So there is a tension between the state, the local government, and the people. So it depends on us, the people, to arm ourselves with knowledge, with the information, take our mandate back and say, hey, Mr. Governor, get your hands off this. This is our call. We are in control of this, and make it happen. So it's something that we have to take on definitely as our responsibility.
Great. Let me open the floor. I think a gentleman called Adiola would like to ask a question After him, Oluyemisi Susan Oyewumi, and then Noyu Ubinyeje Edem and Olani Ifamuide. Can they take their questions one by one, straight to the point?
The
Please,
point.
45 seconds.
Okay, 45 seconds, Pastor, and our very erudite resource person. It's obvious that Nigerians are not educated, and the educated ones are not interested, and that is the bane of the whole thing. If local government governance is given their role, the people need to know. People are not informed, they don't know what it means. And that's the bane of the problem. Then the statutory rules of the local government should be spelled out clearly. There's delineation, there's between the central government, the state government, and the local government centers. So what we've been saying all over and over is the same thing: impunity. And just like the speaker said, nobody has taken the local government to court, and nobody has taken the government, the state government to court. If the road in your area, and we are all very educated, PhDs, Gallo, yet nobody cares to look after what abounds as difficulties and challenges in our community. Nobody cares about the hospitals there. Nobody cares about the roads there. Okay, whereas you could call on the local government chairman, and luckily Pastor Ighodalo's cousin is one of them. Can we start calling him? So I have this recommendation. One, we have been saying that the police is supposed to be under the local government, period. We used to have the constabulary. They should reenact it. We used to have the sanitary inspector. They should reenact it, put on that. Once they become employer of labor, when they become, the sanitary rules are known, okay? All the primary schools and secondary schools should be under the local government areas. And the headmasters and teachers and principals are knowledgeable enough. But nobody just seems to care. And I think so that's the most important thing. The people who are in control, if there's any, should definitely be asked, can we do something? Let's form communities. And I have it here, you can put occupational and vocational groups together in every local government and ask for your local government. There has to be a secretariat, there has to be about staff, and there has to be about roles that is known to everybody in the community. And that way it will not just be somebody choosing to put you there and take you out of there. And the mere fact that there's an election for local government, I think this election cycle, if you can influence it, sir, is it possible? They should start with local government election to make sure that people give attention to it. And like Pastor Greg just said in a minimal way, we should possibly try as much as possible that the local government elections should take place at the same time the general election is taking place. So there will be more attention to it. Yeah, that's my contribution, if it's not a question anyway. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you very much. Thank you. You took a bit more than 45 seconds, but we're enjoying what you were saying so much that we forgive you. Okay. God bless you, Aviola. Do you want to respond to that, or do you want us to take the next question?
Yes, I'll give a quick response. Wonderful. I think what's going to happen really is he talked about people being educated and so forth. We have to continue doing what we're doing today, which is let's educate ourselves. Let's interrogate what local government is meant for, because after all, there's a reason why local government was created. The essence of governance is really for the welfare and benefit of the people. So local governance is meant for the welfare and the sustainability of the local environment and the local people. We have to pay attention. We, the people, have to pay attention.
All right, very good. Yemisi, please.
Good evening, sir.
We, the people, have to pay attention. Okay, go ahead, Yemisi.
Good evening, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
We can hear you, ma'am.
Loud and clear.
Okay. Before I ask my question, I am commending my local government chairman because he's a man of the people. I mean, he has done so he has really perfected, let me say not perfected, but he has really, really tried for us in Surulere, because the past local government chairman was impeached due to embezzlement. But when you find yourself in a local government where the environment reminds you of a 10th century, is it ideal for a non-resident to file a complaint against the local government chairman? And how possible is it that one can penetrate into the environment to help the people out? Because moving in a truck into a particular place where you have touts, every single vehicle that comes in pays a particular fee to fix the road, to fix this, to fix that. What can be done? How can somebody really, help out in such situation? That's my question.
Okay, Speaker, do you want to take a shot at that?
Yeah, the good thing is that there are a number of non-governmental organizations like Budget, like Citizens, SERAP. These bodies are constantly fighting on these issues, but it's just that we're not paying attention. It's only recently that I really discovered even the issue around the local government funding fact. That was something that some people had even taken. There are organizations that are already really beginning to sort and have been for some years, really taking the authorities to task. It's just that we, the people, have not really been engaged and involved. My advice is that we shouldn't act as one individual. We shouldn't act individually, but we have to organize. You know, you have these estate associations and all of these resident associations. That is one layer that definitely can come together as a group and certainly begin to take on these issues. So if you live within a community, we have to start galvanizing one another to start saying, okay, then you can write as an association, as a community, to now start making certain demands of the local government. You can ask for a town hall session. We can even do it online. The minute we want to now get involved, we will get involved. There's a number of things definitely that we can do. We can talk to our local political parties, the opposition parties, and insist that they also must bear responsibility and do their job. That's what they're there for.
All right, we must insist that our local governments do their jobs. That is what they are there for. Mr. Famuide, please.
Good evening, sir. The program, from what I've learned this evening, had some areas that I just need to comment on. Basically, listen to the guest speaker. And I feel that there are a lot of gaps from him discussing about local government. Basically, is the program supposed to discuss local government, what their functions and roles are, and which we are omitting. We just assumed that these are their functions. What does the Constitution tell us? In order to change most of what we are discussing, we need to go back to the Constitution. The Constitution is the basis. You cannot enforce a law that does not exist. Where we do not know what the law states and we assume, then we may be commenting on error. The local government, I'm not too sure, but I think there are areas that he has spelled out as duties of local government, which does not even involve them. So, and that would be amounting to miscommunication onto the citizenry. I know that most local governments in Lagos organize town hall meetings, but it's now left for individuals to attend. They do organize town hall meetings. I've lived in Koshofe, I've lived in Lekki here, I've lived in Ighodalo. I know they organize town hall meetings, but most of us are just detached. So if we are detached, we cannot blame them for organizing a meeting that we don't attend. So if they organize a meeting and we attend and we can voice out, then things will change. Then also, in the local government, I believe that the principal actors that we have now, I can speak of Lagos.
Mr. Famide, we can't find you.
They are fixing the local government in a way that at least you have the right peg. Yes, one thing about Lagos is that Lagos development outpaced every other development in Nigeria, in the sense that the population growth in Lagos is at a geometrical rate, whereas the other indices are not moving at the same pace. A lot of areas are not developed because they are not even well structured out before people move into them. So there's no way you can move into an area that is not already mapped out, and you want the development to be going at a rate higher than what you met it. A lot of areas in Ighodalo were not thought of, but in the last 4 years, the development have outpaced every other thing. So the revenue to catch up would be more than 3, 4, 5 times. And how many people are even paying tax in Lekki? Thank you.
Do you want to speak to that?
Of course I do. Mr. Famide, thank you. But please be careful when you make allegations such as what you made. You said that there's misinformation and you're not sure whether that demonstrates to me that you haven't read the Constitution. This is a copy of the 1999 Constitution. And if you care to go to the 4th schedule of the Constitution of 1999, you will see listed in there all the functions of the local government. I just do not want to take our time, but if you please find some time to read. It's meant to list their collection of rates, radio, television services, establishment of maintenance of cemeteries, burial grounds, homes for the destitute, the infirm, licensing of bicycles, trucks that are not motorized, canoes, wheelbarrows, establishment, maintenance, and regulation of slaughterhouses, slaughter slabs, markets, motor parks, public conveniences, construction and maintenance of roads, streets, street lightings, drains, and other public highways, parks, gardens, and such public facilities as can be. That means the House can even give them additional things to what the Constitution has already stated. The naming of roads and streets and numbering of houses, provision of maintenance of public conveniences, sewage, refuse disposal, registration of births, deaths, marriages, assessment of privately owned houses or tenements for the purpose of levying such rates, control and regulation of outdoor advertising and hoarding. This one that the state has, tried to commandeer. Movement and keeping of pets of all kinds, shops and kiosks, control and regulation of restaurants, bakeries, other places with the sale of food, laundries, licensing, regulation, and control of the sale of liquor. So where have I misinformed. Please go read the Constitution yourself and be careful when you're making such statements next time. Thank you.
All right. I think the next person is Noyo Kuyembi Ejem. Kubeyenji.
Kubenje Eden. Kubenje Eden. Good afternoon, all. We thank God for this forum where we can come together as people who are truly interested in seeing Nigeria advancing in all areas of development, human development, roots and everything. Today we are talking about the local government. And we know that that's the basis of everything. And whatever is done there touches our people more than the state or the federal government. First and foremost, we have to organize ourselves in a way that we are able to provide information to our people. Let them know that they are the government, they are the local government. It's not just that they go to vote and it ends there. You are the government. You have to be involved in what is happening. Yes, the town hall meetings, as they have already stated, they are very important. We can't have leaders who are there doing things on our behalf and we do not know what they are doing. I happen to have some houses in Nigeria by the grace of the Most High God. In one of the communities, a very local government, very local community where I have a building, the people there, it's in Ogun State. They are the one working on the road. It should not be so. Providing the transformer, all sorts of things they do within the local government. It should not be so. So first and foremost, I know that, like as we have in the state governments, we have structures in place, boards and commissions. We have board members, and those people, they sit down to deliberate on issues relating to how they will help the people, providing the basic welfare services that the communities need. Do we have that in place in Nigeria? We are supposed to have it in the local government. That is not just the chairman and the councilmen and women that are making the decisions, that we actually have boards that we can also hold responsible, that we know that these people are people that we have put there, they are because of their integrity, and we know that they will represent the common good of the people in the community. We are supposed to have that. For instance, in the city where I am, we are living in the United States. I belong to the planning board of my, I'm a member of the planning board of my city. And it takes a lot of things. We see that most of the people, they are very elderly people. Some, I'm one of the youngest. So I have a board member, 90-something years. This man is not there for himself, but for the common good of our community. And you see them, they sit down there, listen to everything that has to go through. If you want to plan, build a house, anything in our community, they sit down and go through all those cases. Do we have it in our local government level? I used to work with the National Primary Education Commission and also Lagos State Primary Education Commission before I came to the United States. I know that a lot of money goes to the local government, then it used to be called LGE, local government educational boards, a lot of money, not just the state, from the national to the state to the local governments, but they don't provide those services. I used to monitor Ikorodu and Ituah and some other places when I was in Lagos. When you go there, you see the state of the schools and everything. Instead, we are going there and settling matters, people fighting, instead of doing, they're not providing those services. So we have kings, we have chiefs, we have traditional leaders, we have the tenants, what we call it, the landlord association, tenant association in various local governments. We have to hold them accountable. They have to sit down and ensure that services are provided to the people there. That community where I said that I have a small house somewhere around Lagos in Bafo. When I call the people there, they don't even know their local government chairman. They do not. They are doing everything for themselves. So it should not be like that. Our people should not be suffering. Nigeria has a lot, and we have people who know what they're supposed to do. So where we have to put our efforts is in enlightening our people that this belongs to you. You have to attend those meetings. If the local government chairmen are not calling the meetings, as citizens, we can call the meetings, arrange a place that, okay, and send a letter to them. We want to meet you so and so time. Please come and talk to us. I think that's what we should be doing, holding people accountable. The local government generates a lot of money. a lot of money. My father was a local government chairman when he retired from civil service in Ovia local government area of Edo State. So it generates a lot of money, and people should take care of the people, provide us basic services that people need in their schools, in their communities. It can be done, and I know we can do it. This is a good start. That's why I'm here with this organization, to see what is happening. We can do it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any response to that?
my response really is to say, thank you. That was a wonderful intervention. And it's wonderful when people in diaspora also can reach out and help us, because, we need to know how it's being done so that we don't have to reinvent, anything, because that's why these things have been set up. There's a reason why you have local governance set up. We're not, as a people, meant to carry the bucket on our head. There should be a means by which those that are working for us on our behalf are actually working for us. And yes, there are boards. One of the boards, for example, I was involved in a project which was to teach children financial literacy. And we had to go through SUBED, which was the state universal basic education board. So basic education, again, at the primary level and the adult education level are actually within the jurisdiction of through local government, local governance. So at the end of the day, again, when we think about how China brought its people out of poverty, it was an execution at that local government layer, making sure that all the opportunities are there. They had these boards and whatever that was supervising, whether it was in the area of sports, making sports a livelihood issue, whether it was the area of tourism, lighting up particular local areas that are known for certain things, creating economic activity through that, setting up cottage industries based on the strength of that particular urban farming and stuff like that, agriculture. Local government is also responsible for agriculture. So you can have a lot of urban farming and things like that going on. So it's us, the people, that have to ask the question. I'm sure if we ask the local government chairman, oh, how many boards do you have? There's supervisory boards and stuff like that. They should be able to give us the answer to that. We can even ask our local councillor, because the councillor too is our representative. And we have to bring the councillor closer, the councillor who represents our ward, and say, okay, Mr. Councillor or Miss Councillor, how far? This and this and this are the gaps that we see. You've done well so far, but we want you to do more. The gentleman that spoke earlier said, oh, they've done some good things. Yeah, good, but we want to go to great. So we want to move from good to great. And we know that the only way we can get great is to have people doing great things, great minds, great decisions, being ready to be sacrificial, wanting the common good. And that's what we really need to see going forward. So all of these things, we can unlock Nigerian greatness, but it's got to be bottom up. It's got to start at that local level where there are people there that know what they're meant to be doing, and they're doing it. And we're not going to let them get away with not doing it, going forward.
Okay, we're running out of time. We have only about 5 effective minutes left. So we have to find a very useful way of using that time. And we still have some announcements to make on the platform. So I'm going to ask that we take the 5 questions that I can see all together. I'm going to appeal that we don't sermonize. We just go straight to the question. Don't even greet anybody or thank anybody for anything. Just go straight to the question or the comment. Our erudite guests, please just make notes of all the questions and then answer them also, so that we can take everybody's question. So we have the following people: Taiwo Okulaja, Kule Lawa, Dubi Imevore, Fola Rogers, Dr. Fola Rogers, and Z Nagberi to ask their questions, 5 of them. I think the real problem, even with local governments, first of all, we're not too involved. We don't get involved. We're not concerned. We push them aside. Then a lot of the local government chairmen who are not quite qualified for the job they're doing are not quite capable. And then most of them are the behest of the governor and keep wringing their hands and say, there's nothing we can do. But nonetheless, let me hear these questions. I think Kule Lawal has unmuted himself.
Yes, I've unmuted. Good day, everyone. Mine is a comment, it's not a question, so I'm going to go very quickly since we do not have time. First, we need to understand that local government is the first handshake of democracy to the people. That's what we first need to understand. Secondly, a local government consists of two parts, which is the councillors, which are like the National Assembly of local government, which take legislative functions, and then local government chairman, which of course does the executive functions. Now, the local government also, there's no local government in Nigeria that receives less than 130 million per month on FAC allocations. No local government receives less than 130 million per month from FAC allocations. Critically, I don't know whether Mr. Akin Braithwaite mentioned this, but what's key, and I wanted to bring up, was something that was very close to Lagos. And this would be the Lekki incidents, which happened in 2020. Now, one of the first function of local government is maintenance of security. Whenever we talk about restructuring, we forget that we're supposed to start at LG Police, and the jurisdiction of bridges actually falls under the local government. So who should have been called to order is not Sanwo-Olu, is actually the local government chairman. But that said, I need to also make this point clear. The problem with the educated electorate is they are politically illiterate. So the same local government elections in Lagos State had less than 7% electorate involvement in the electorate, and what we'll call the smartest local government in Nigeria, which is Ituah, puts down at almost 5.5 participation in local government. So therein lies the problem. Thank you very much.
Okay, Taiwo Okulaja, please.
Hello. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. Concerning the local government administration, what the main problem is the state governors. They have hijacked all the responsibility. As our guest speaker may mention, park and garages are supposed to be strength of local government. Check in Lagos, no local government chairman can take any decision on any party in their jurisdiction. Move to advertisement, LASA are the one doing it. Move to tenement rate, what they call it. They have hijacked almost everything. So the right people that can go there and do something no longer interested because they will render them redundant. Most of the things they are supposed to do to generate money. Someone just mentioned that no local government is Nigeria is taking less than 130 million. That is pure lie. Local government are taking money according to the type of where they find themselves. There are a lot of local government that don't take up to 10 million because they first take a lot of things into consideration. One, the local government VAT is going to local government. That's, you can claim that in Lagos. Hello? Hello? Hello, sir?
Go ahead, we can hear you. But
yes.
We can't see.
Okay. Now, primary school teachers' salary are being deducted from the national from the local government money. After deduction, some local government don't even have any money to pay their own workers because they will remove. They are not part of people to employ them. They don't determine the number of primary school teachers in their local government. The state government will employ even without considering the capacity of local government to pay. At the end of the day, by the time they deduct those money, local government will left with the stipend, and they will find out what are we going to do with this money. They will just share it and put it in our pocket. And two, and lastly, they cannot do anything without permission. No local government chairman that can have a project of 10 million, 20 million without taking permission from the state, which is which is one of the reasons why reasonable people don't go into local government administration, because they will render useless. All your integrity will go into it because local, let's say, government are the headmaster, while the local government or administrator are puppies. I rest my case now.
Yeah, next person, please. Mr. Dr. Fola Rogers.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I practically got the link about half an hour ago. I have sent in a little comment, but my question is, if we are having some kind of, for instance, at the town hall meeting, for instance, are we acting as individuals or are we acting as part of this, important group, the leadership group?
Who else? Mr. Zinagberi, please.
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, my name is Zinagberi. My question to the speaker is, I will use the example here in United States. I'm in Minnesota, United States. When revenues are taken out of people's paycheck, the taxes, a certain percent goes to the federal government, and a certain percent goes to the state government, and a certain percent goes to the local government for development. All right. In Nigeria, is this the same? Because all the money collected in the local government, I believe the masses will be pissed off, applaud, and even lose hope when they are paying their taxes and the local streets are not taken care of. There's no street light. The roads are bad. All right. The drainage is bad. Is there something there? That's one. If not, how can we, because I don't just believe in complaining, I am a solution-driven person. I believe in solutions. Is there any way this organization or this group can take it further, that we start adopting a city? We can take a city in Lagos and adopt that city and mash it with a city in the Western world. It doesn't necessarily have to only be United States. I can arrange for us to mash a city with Brooklyn Park in Minnesota, or Orono, which is the wealthiest county city in Minnesota. I'm friends with both mayors. So if we adopt the city, we can exchange ideas, and the city will now mimic what they're doing here to see if it will work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dubi Imevore, please.
Yes. Good evening. My own is question and a comment at the same time. First of all, I believe that we need to deal with something a little bit more perennial in our system than merely looking at the local government. I believe with the systems we have, the system can only work as good as the people are. What I think we should be doing, especially a group like this, is how do we get to the people and reorientate our minds? If you look at every institution in Nigeria, we always experience something that is always like an aberration to what works everywhere. So even if we go in with the system that we have now, how can we guarantee that we will have people who will walk to the systems? So I think we should be looking at how do we reorientate our minds? How do we get ourselves out of the kind of logjam, the mentality that we have all over Nigeria? Any institution we get into, something that works somewhere doesn't work with us. So I think we should engage in a system where we can actually get to reorientate the minds of our grassroots. And we must start it with things like our language, our culture, as opposed to having all these alien cultures clashing with us. That's my message for Mr. Braithwaite. Thank you. I am through.
Okay, thank you very much, Dubi. Thank you. Mr. Braithwaite, can you please respond to all those questions? And then we begin to wind down. I don't know, after his response, Mr. Pastor Sonny may have one or two comments, and then Jumoke, you come up with the announcements before we ask Mr. Akin Braithwaite for his closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Pastor. Starts with the last comment, the cultural aspect. That's a wonderful intervention. Incidentally, I looked at the Chinese success story and the way in which they were able to lift their people out of poverty. And interestingly, they did feature and factor in the nuances of the specific locations. And in some respects, they even used the rural activity and the culture of the place to create a sort of tourism aspect to even bring income and economic activity into that specific location as a solution to the issues of poverty. So yes, the cultural recognition of the culture of things that are progressive in the culture, and then maybe laying aside the things that are, not so progressive. But culture does have, even certain aspects, one, the pride of the people in the culture that they have, and also, the opportunity for others to come and participate and see that culture for whatever it is. Moving to the issue around the involvement in terms of local governance and the elections, we, Kunle Lawal did mention that if you look at 7% participation, and even in Pastor Ituah's favorite, Etiosa, Lagos State, there was a 5.5% involvement. That's terrible. That's bad. What it means is that 95% or thereabouts of the people are they're not interested. So whatever happens outside the house, the rubbish dumps that are gathering, the lack of primary education, lack of primary healthcare, it's of no concern, of no consequence to the majority of the citizenry. That has to change. That definitely, that's an abysmal pointer to the fact that we've not really been involved in we've been too focused, like I said, on the presidency, who's going to be president. Yet, you don't even get to go to Aso Rock. You don't even go there to have tea or drink garri and eat groundnut with the president. So, of what real large consequence is that to you in your local environment? So we've got to be locally focused now, going forward. I think it's not been fashionable, but we've got to make it fashionable and cool to be interested in what happens down our street and in our ward. How to get these town halls going and how to really hold these people to account, as I said earlier, is not to do it as an individual. Someone mentioned whether the leadership group is going to take on such a role. I think it should. I think it should be able to act as pointers, maybe a think tank, in terms of helping us to understand the boundaries of what local government leadership, what we expect of our local government leaders, how to get leadership going in local government. I think these are some of the topics that I think ALG definitely should take on board. But in the meantime, we do have different organizations, associations, and whatever that can be used as the sharp edge of the wedge to help us deal with the local, to help us, write the petitions, help us write emails, invite these local governments, help us get the councillors, to sit down. And the councillors are meant to be our representatives in any case. And apparently, they even create laws. The local government also creates bylaws. So if there are things that are not quite working right, we can sponsor bills that can also be created into bylaws. I think if local government people are misbehaving and not doing what is expected of them, I think we have power beyond the voting, which is the recall process. We need to understand, maybe ALG can help us understand the recall process. And then we need to be able to arm be able to arm ourselves with that recall process to bring them back. The city adopting a city, that city adopting thing, I think adopting a local government, in Lagos, there are 57 LCDA local governments in Lagos. Yes, if we can get cities abroad to adopt maybe a group of wards, a group of local governments, that really can work. They did that in China. The East Coast was very, very successful. They had a lot of all these successful things, and they matched them with the West Coast, and they were able to do capacity building, exchanges, and all that kind of stuff. These are the things that our local government folk, if they were really sort of that inclination and really understood the power and the potential for local government, these are the things they would do. We could have a sister local government in anywhere. You even Germany, UK, I understand that the German government, they're happy to come and help with capacity building and all of that. Even things like funding. We could get cheaper funding for our small businesses and all that through the local government. I yield the mic, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm most grateful to you. Sonny, do you have any comments? Okay. We'll take a last comment from Charles Ojon-Yore. Please, Charles, very quickly, please. We're actually out of time. And Jumoke, you then take over from there to do the ALG presentations. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Pastor Ituah. I think that what Mr. Braithwaite is trying to adopt as a means of campaigning can be effective, because he stated clearly that if people need to stand to determine what they want, they need to set the expectations for the local government to move forward. So it would be a wise idea if you have town meetings in the 3 senatorial districts. Set the agenda. If one senatorial district cannot build a school, can 2 or 3 get together to build a school? Find out whether the, what do you call them again, the agberos and the cab drivers and the rest of them who collect money on a daily basis, do they have a housing association so that at the end of the day, if they can't build 10 houses, they can build 1 house? If you raise that level of community activity to a high level, you just might be surprised at what it will bring. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. God bless you. Jumoke, over to you.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining today's program. I'm going to be sharing a link to the scoring app, the African Leadership Scoring Tool or Assessment Tool. And what that tool would help us do is to review or assess the presidential candidates 3 at a time. It's new. And it has some information. You have to do a little bit of research. But the idea behind that assessment tool is for us to be intentional about the way we choose our leaders, that we don't go on sentiments or religious or ethnic affiliation, but on their qualification. So I'm going to post the link in the chat, and we're just going to ask you to take a minute or so to fill it out. And the way that works is you can select 3 candidates at a time, and you score them in the different categories that are available on the scoring app or the assessment tool. I keep using assessment tool as scoring app, but it's really an assessment tool. And I'll post that now. It takes about 2 minutes for you to complete it. And we are partnering with NG Voices, where you would find information about the different candidates on their website. And maybe by next meeting, we'll be able to post that link as well, where you can get maybe their manifesto or any public information that is available about those candidates. So what I'm going to do is, I'll probably just share my screen. Uncle Olu, can I share my screen? And just walk through. Okay. So when you click on the link, this is what you get. This is it's scoreboard, score app, and it gives you the instructions as to why we came up with this. What is the purpose of having this assessment tool? Knowing that 2023 election cannot be business as usual. It's a way for us to take Nigeria back and be intentional about who now occupies the seat, the highest seat in the country. So the poll, as I said, is just your name. And the reason we want to collect your name and email is just, again, for information. It's a reference point, and I'm just going to go ahead and fill mine. It's just a demonstration. And I would choose Edo State as my state. And then these, we have all the list of the candidates, and you can pick 3 at a time. And I'll probably pick just randomly. Don't know who these people are, but so you can go back and do this as many times as you want. And the first set of questions is their age, or the general session has their age. Kola Abiola, for example, how old is he? What's his range? And we have it in ranges, because I don't know that I have know exactly how old they are, but the age range is 55 to 64. Why is age important? You can answer that question as well. Then Dumebi, I believe he is in the, I'll just pick 40 to 54 range. Their education, bachelor's, master's. Again, as I said, NG Voices would have a link to NG's Voices website next week, where you would be able to find more information about the candidates that would help you answer these questions. Just going to put bachelor's there. National recognition. Is this a name that Nigerians know? Is this candidate only popular in one region or in all regions? Then you select that. I'm going to assume Kola Abiola is in 3 regions. Peter is in 1, or no recognition. This is just a demonstration. And then Dumebi is recognized in all regions. Then we go to their entrepreneurial experience. What is Kola Abiola's? How many years does he have? I would assume 10 years. And Peter, if you know him well, maybe 5 to 10 years. Dumebi, I would say another 3 to 5 years. And their record, how successful have they been in the businesses that they've engaged in? So average, above average, excellent. And then their international experience. Is this a candidate that has relationships? Because in international experience, we're not, we're part of the global community. So what's their international experience? Average, again, is the same quantification, whether it's extensive. And as you notice that each section has subtotal, has a subtotal of points for each candidate. Then I think this is what is really very important to us as Nigerians as well. Their manifesto, what is their recovery plan for the country? Is it comprehensive or is it skeletal? Is this just another theory that is not going to be implementable? Then you go through that. And as I mentioned, NG Voices has some of this information on their website that you'll be able to link to. The economic plan at the same time. Do they have an economic plan? Is it skeletal or is it comprehensive? And we just select for each. Security plan is another very important thing for us, the way the nation is right now. And we need to pay attention to that. Which candidate has a comprehensive security plan that can really help get us out of this current situation? And then, so that's on the manifesto, is in 4 sections. Okay, reconciliatory plan. Nigeria, we know, I mean, I don't need to tell you, but we know where we are. So we need someone that can also be the unifier in chief. And how do we reconcile the dissenting voices in the nation and bring us back together as a united Nigeria? So public office experience, is this someone that just decided I want to run for election and has no public office experience, or is it someone that has extensive experience? So we did put those ranges in there as well. And performance record, why would we want to elect someone that their performance record is poor or even average? We want above average. So you look at their performance record as well, based on the information that you're able to get. And integrity and morality. This again, these are all subjective based on your own assessment and information that you have out there. But like I said, we just want to put thoughts behind the candidates that we vote for. We don't want to go to the polling stations and just pick someone. We want to be intentional about who we are casting our votes for, based on how we view them for the country, for the good, for the good of Nigeria. And this, again, we debated about including this marital status, but you can look at that, and these are all points. Again, a family man, we believe, is a responsible man. So this is the summary. Dumebi has 53 points, Peter has 51 points, and Kola has 41 points. And you can do this again for all your candidates. You can take this as many times as you want, just for you to learn more about the candidate that you're going to vote for. So that's the end of this. And then we ask that you share it once you're done. Maybe next week we'll have more time and we can all take this and then share it and maybe discuss why we're voting for whoever we have chosen that has the highest points. So that's the end of this presentation. I put the link in the chat, and I'm also going to put the document that kind of explains the thought behind the scoring app in the group chat as well. Thank you. Any questions?
Yes. Good evening, Jumoke. Lovely session. Sorry I joined a bit late. My name is Kola Akinwale. I'm actually, I tag along with His Excellency. Just a quick one. Are you planning to do the same scoring for the governorship candidates? Are you planning to do that?
Well, it's been talked about, but we wanted to try this out. This is a prototype, and not because we feel the governorship candidate is not important, but right now, 2023 February is almost like the make or break for Nigeria. So we focused our energy on that. I'll take that up with Pastor and the rest of the team and see what we can come up with.
I am sure that if you've been able to carve this out for the presidential candidates, then it should be adaptive for the gubernatorial candidates as well. The states are equally important as the central part of town, side of town. That's all. Yes. Thank you so much. Also,
thank you.
Looks nice.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm sure we are going to do this for all the candidates going forward, but we wanted to get this out just to get started. But I'm almost certain we'll do it for all the offices coming up.
Thank you. That's awesome. Thank you. Cheers.
To you too. Any other questions before I hand over to Pastor? Okay. Please share widely. It's also going to be, we're going to have it in the different languages, and we'll be posting it on this platform as well once we have it translated to the different languages. Thank you. Pastor, over to you, sir.
Thank you all very much, and thank you, Jumoke, as always. And if anybody has any ideas of how we can get this to reach as many people as possible on different platforms that they control or they know about, they should please let us know so that we can spread it out to as many platforms as possible, both in Nigeria and in the diaspora. We are looking for partners to help us send this message across so that people can take a much more scientific look at the elections this year, rather than just being emotional. What we are trying to do is that by God's grace, we get the best person that can drive a great Nigeria of the future, that will have all the bells and whistles to make Nigeria great again. That's all we want. We're totally non-partisan on this platform. We just want the best for the people and the best for the nation. Thank you very, very much for everyone that has come to the platform. If you know of any person that should be invited to the platform, or any person in any other party, they are welcomed. We've had people from the APC, we've had people from the PDP, we've had people from NRM now, National Rescue Movement, that our guest today represents. We've had people from ADC, we've had people from SDP, we've had people from, of course, what's the name? Labour Party, and so on and so forth. So if you know of anybody that needs to have their voices heard, or they have an opinion on how to drive Nigeria forward, we're here to listen to them. Right, let's go back to our guest today, Mr. Akin Braithwaite, for his closing remarks. Thank you very much. God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Pastor. It's been a delight being with you, me on the platform, and thank you for all that you do. I want to say a very, very big thank you to all of you who have listened, the contributions, which is what I'm going to be putting into the campaign as well. You can take it from me that my campaign will definitely be including the autonomy of local governance. I believe that that's where, from the bottom-up approach, we really, really need to get to the bottom layer to drive our economy. I think Lagos State, no doubt, needs a safe pair of hands, someone you can trust, someone you can believe in, someone who has really, really credited and been successful in private sector. You can go verify my credentials, my track record, and I'm happy to be able to bring all that and become a real powerhouse. I am public-spirited, and I will be bringing a bold human face into the area of governance. Folks that are unemployed, we will be fighting for full employment, definitely fighting to make sure that there's a safety net for people. We need to bring our humanity back and the dignity of everyone, regardless of if we have all these infrastructure and we're not looking after our people, then we really, really failed in the first principles. Thank you very much, and I do hope that I'll get your votes. God bless you. I yield the mic back.
Were you campaigning there, Mr. Braithwaite?
I was trying to make sure we don't make a mistake for Lagos.
Absolutely. Well done.
All right, Mr. Braithwaite, thank you very much. God bless
you.
you. My love to the family. I actually look forward to meeting your kids, meeting your wife and kids. I have not met them.
Fantastic. We will invite you for lunch. Definitely.
No, dinner or...
Oh, dinner. All right.
Dinner or drinks is okay.
Absolutely.
Depending.
And as many as want to come too, they're invited.
All right. No problem.
All right.
Thank you very much. God bless you, my brother. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming tonight. We are really grateful to you. Next week is going to be another very interesting session. So please don't go away. Invite people, get people on the platform. We're making progress. We're seeing direction and traction in Nigeria. Everything is coming together bit by bit. And I know that somehow 2023 is going to be a little bit of a different year by God's grace. Right. So God bless you. You all have a good evening and a good night. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I put Pastor Olu's contact information in the chat for those that were asking about inviting someone to the platform. So please reach out to him. There's also an email there if you know someone in one of the parties. Please go ahead and reach out to Pastor Olu. Thank you.
And if we can also get access to